is the month of January and we have got 4 more soup videos for you in our Year of Soup compilation. We're coming to the close of that soon. I think we've just got a couple more months to go. So we have done really well with so many different flavours of soups. If you have not seen any of the other soup videos, I will put a box and you can click on it at the end to send you to the variety of videos that we have got. So today's video has got some soups that I have made, always using up what we have got in the house. I look at what vegetables and ingredients we've got and I base our soups around those. I've also got one soup at the end which I think is a bit of a special one because I was lucky enough to get the recipe from a place that I visited recently. I'll tell you a bit more about it when we get to that particular soup. As you can see, I've got a little bit of cabbage left over from other cooking that we didn't end up using. I've still got leeks left. So I'm going to make myself for lunch today a simple cabbage and leek soup. So I'm just going to shred the cabbage up a little bit. There we go, nice and thin. And I'm using leek because we've got loads of them. And I think it'll be a bit gentler than using an onion. And as it's about using up what I've got, and that's what I've got, so that's what I'm going to use. There we go, cabbage done. Oh, a little bit of muck on the leek there, so I'm just going to open that up, give that a little bit of a clean inside, and then slice it up. There we go, nice and clean, so we'll give that a bit of a shred as well. Use about probably 1/3 of this leek, I think. Mostly the green bits. There we go. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn my pan on, turn some heat on. Do something with Smarty because he's making noises. There we go, get some heat on and then we'll get the leek and the cabbage in. Once we've done that, I'm going to boil the kettle to get a little bit of stock going. I'm going to use my bouillon powder. Not too much of it though, because this is quite a potent one. So I'm just going to use a little bit of that in there. So let's pop those in. Give them a sweat off for a couple of minutes. Make sure I get all the bits from underneath. Find myself something to mix it with. And in the time it takes to boil my kettle, these will have sautéed for a good few minutes. In I go with a little sprinkle, not even a teaspoon of bouillon powder for this amount, and some water. There we go. I'm just thinking about how much is going to be just for me in a bowl. And I'm just going to cook this. Oh, a little bit more water, I think. There we go. Just going to leave this for a couple of minutes to steep and get the flavours going through and make sure that the bouillon powder's nicely mixed through. And then it'll be ready to serve. There we go. Soup's done. Nice and simple. Just, it's more of a broth than a thick soup or anything like that. But it's what I fancy today and I think it's going to taste really nice. In fact, do you know what? I'm going to put a tiny pinch of salt and a little crack of pepper. There we go. Let's have that taste. If you can hear hissing or kind of cooking next to it, I'll show you what that is in a second. So let's have a taste of this without blowing my head off. Let's get a bit more broth in there because this is going to be hot. You see, that's really nice. I know that's not going to sit hard on my stomach today because I'm really just not in the mood for anything overly heavy or intense. Just a nice, simple flavour. And what I've got on in the pan next to me is the rest of, well, a lot of my leeks. And I am just using those to make some cream of leek soup. that was, I've shown you how to do, if you go back to the March video of a year of soups, that is what is going on there, because that's the last time I made cream of leek soup, because I canned it. And so I'm going to make my next batch, but in the meantime I'm going to have this soup for my lunch. I've got a leek cooking in here, just on a low heat, just to cook down slightly, in lieu of an onion, because I have more leeks than onions, and these leeks I've had for ages, so I'm using the last one up. But the main focus of this dish is cauliflower. So we're going to have a roasted cauliflower soup. So I've got these 2 cauliflowers, not very big by the time, oh look at the size of that, by the time you pull the leaves off. If you pay for this by weight and you don't use these leaves for something, you're being diddled. Because look at the size of that. Fortunately, I got this off Olio, so I didn't pay anything for it. So that saves me a lot less bother, but that is so tiny. I've grown cauliflowers myself in the past, and I've managed to get some bigger than that ones at least. So all I'm going to do is this, is just take off these leaves. I'll find something else to do with those. And I am going to just, because I'm not worried about this looking pretty, because it's going to be a blended soup, I'm just going to chop into pieces, and then it can go in the air fryer as is. If I had more than this, I'd probably put it in the oven because of space, but we've got pretty much enough room in the air fryer to be able to do this. So air fryer out. I am, however, going to put something on the bottom. I think I'm going to put a little bit of foil on the bottom, because otherwise I'm going to end up with tiny, tiny little pieces of cauliflower all lurking in the bottom. Okay, I've just popped some cauliflower in the bottom, and I'm just going to put all these pieces, let's pop you around here so you can see. Whoop, make sure we're steady. There we go. Pop all of these pieces in here, so I'm not going to end up with, hopefully, too many tiny little crummaged pieces down in the bottom. There we go. If there are some very tiny pieces, I'm not going to put those in. There's some like little crumbage, really tiny crumbs. I'll just throw those in the pan with the leeks. So the rest of this I'm just going to spray and pop in the air fryer for about 15 minutes. See how it does. You can never tell with an air fryer how long it needs to be on for unless you've done it before. So air fryer, I'm not preheating, I'm not doing a turn reminder. We'll go for 15 minutes. We will go up about 180 and see how it comes out. Right, that 15 minutes is beeped. We are done. There is our cauliflower. Nice and toasty around the edges. Obviously the bits that are stems are not quite tender yet, but we're going to put all of this into where our leeks are. Before we do that though, I'm going to pop a stock cube in there, just a plain stock cube, not using bouillon powder because it's too potent, so just a stock cube, and I will get a little bit of water in there just to get that going, because I want to make sure that that's at least melted slightly before I start putting in everything else. So now I'm just going to attempt, so this is why the foil was good, just managed to scoop it all up in one go. That's just going to get deposited in. There we go. And just a quick look in there, you see, hardly any clean up to do, that's much better. Back to there. And let's just give that another mix. I'm going to pop in just enough water to cover the cauliflower, just to finish off cooking for the stems and everything. A little bit of oregano, I think, just to go in there. Now, flavour wise, you could go down a few different routes. You could put in some curry spices and have a curry flavour. Just putting a little bit of garlic powder in there as well. And you could go a little bit more. Smarty! Oh, he is on one today. So what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I've gone for oregano. You could go with curry powder in there as well. If you wanted, you could also put in a bit of nutritional yeast and go through a different flavour profile, more of a cheesy flavour. But we're just going to go for a plain and simple, but the options are there for you. Just going to bring this back up to the boil, simmer for about 10 minutes, and then we're ready to blitz. This has been cooking just that little bit longer than I said I was going to do, because while it was doing, I went and vacuumed the house. So just give it a quick run through. So now, time to blend. So we can see it's quite a thick soup. That's thicker than I probably want it. So I'm going to add a little bit of my soy milk to that. Just a couple of 100 mils, I think. And just blend that in. There we go, all blended. Now obviously, cauliflower is white, and if you didn't roast it, you would have ended up with quite a white, creamy coloured soup. But because we've roasted it, and the darker you roast it, the darker the soup is going to get. But let's give it a taste and see if we need anything else in there. I have a feeling we might need a little bit of salt. But let's just have a little taste and see. Yeah, a little sprinkle just to make sure. Give that a quick mix. So the flavours I'm getting quite a sweet cauliflower flavour, but then a nice roastiness to it as well. There we go. Double dipping because it's only me and Chris. That's done it. That's just lifted it a little bit more. But that is a really, really tasty soup. I think that's going to go nice with a little bit of garlic bread. I think Smarty agrees. So I absolutely love French onion soup, but can't generally have it because they're mostly made with beef broth. I'm going to make some French onion soup, my version. I'm going to use my bouillon instead of beef broth, and I'm going to add a few other bits in there to make it the dark colour and nice and flavoursome. But I don't find it massively filling. And then I saw, if you ever watch MasterChef Australia, there's a lady called Marion Graysby who is a fantastic cook, and I follow her on Facebook, and she's brilliant. And she made French onion noodle soup. So that's what I'm going to do a version of. Obviously, I can't 100% follow her recipe because it's got the beef broth in, but we're going to give it a go. And the main thing we need to do is we caramelise our onions. So I've chopped them up into long pieces, nice and thin. I have got my pan here. There's a little bit of vegan spread in there. So I am good to go. I'm going to get this on. I'm using my smallest ring on the hob because I don't want to, it's low and slow with onions. Otherwise, you will not get that nice, deep, rich flavour. Some of the other things that I'm going to pop in there is a little bit of soy sauce. And Marion doesn't use this, but I'm using mushroom ketchup. We love this stuff. This stuff's great. Adds a really nice depth of flavour. So it'll give that kind of umami. That's a very chefy word, isn't it, umami? But that real deep, rich flavour that you want from the soup. So I'm going to get going with these onions. I anticipate that these are going to take about 45 minutes to cook down. So while these are on the go, I'm going to do some cleaning around the house and just kind of every 5 minutes or so stick my head in and give it a little mix. And that's the way I'm going to rock and roll doing this, because I'm not one for standing here and messing around. It's like if you've ever seen me make risotto, I don't stand and stir and stand and stir, and I can't be doing with that. I need to be doing other things in the meantime. So we will just do that, give it a mix in all that lovely spread. This is 3 onions, by the way, only very small ones. They're sort of like just a bit bigger than golf ball size onions. There we go. Gonna get that going. Keep an eye on it. I'm going to poodle around the kitchen, probably stir it every couple of minutes to start with, and then once it starts going, turn the heat down a little bit and do that keeping an eye on system. These onions have cooked down beautifully. You want to get them to that really nice brown caramelised stage where they start to go a bit jammy looking. So then we're going to put in some soy. I'm only putting in half a teaspoon of dark soy. I am being a bit more careful with my measurements in this. Normally I just throw things in willy-nilly, but I want to make sure that I don't overpower the onionness. A teaspoon of the mushroom. Whoa, slightly over. Don't use all of it. There we go. Then a half a teaspoon of, is that half? No, that's a quarter. Where's my half gone? Half. Half a teaspoon of my bouillon powder. As again, no overpowering. Now, Marion, when she made hers, cooked her noodles separately. I'm not going to do that because I don't want clean extra pans. So I'm going to put in enough water just to kind of get our onions going, and then I'm going to pop my noodles in. I've taken the sauce packet out. These are only 2-minute noodles, so they don't need a massive amount of liquid. So once, turn the heat up on this a little bit. Once this gets going, I will be able to turn the noodles over, and the ones on the bottom will be nearly cooked, and the ones on the top will then get cooked. I will probably end up needing to add a little bit more water by looking at the looks of things, because obviously the noodles are going to soak up a little bit. So a little extra splash, another 75 mils. Smarty is on one at the moment. He will not be quiet. He doesn't know whether he wants to be in or out, or to be fed or not. We've put food down for him. He's being quite awkward. If you've watched this channel and follow me on socials and whatever, you'll know that last year we lost Archie, the big dog, in October, and then Tilly, the fluffy cat, in December. And Smarty's going through a bit of a grieving process, we think. He is being a bit more picky with his food. He is wanting more attention. He is not a lap cat. He has become a lap cat. So we are just trying to make sure that he's okay and he's got all the lovings in the world that he needs, but he is just very, very vocal about it. So leave this in the pan to simmer and just do those noodles. I say 2-minute noodles, so keep an eye on the amount of water and stuff that you've got in there, and we'll chat these in a moment. Noodles are done. I'm going to taste the stock for flavour. Perfectly good. Got a bit of earthiness, you know, that deepness. So we're going to pop this now, turn this round, into a bowl. There we go. Now obviously the tradition with French onion soup is to have a bit of a crouton. So I've got a little bit of a roll that I have just air fried. It's one of these petty pans type things that you can get. Pop that on there with a little bit of cheese. I'm going to pop this under the grill and then we'll give it a proper taste. I popped it on a plate because I knew this is going to be nuclear powered if I got it out of under the grill. So here we go. French onion noodle soup. Oh, hot. You can't see it, but I'm doing the happy dance. and lovely melted cheese on top of little croutons, which will taste delicious with all that lovely sauce. Oh, oh yeah. I know this takes a little bit of time to cook, but in terms of the onions, I got plenty of other things done in between time. We did some vacuuming, we did some dusting, we did some folding of laundry. So it wasn't as if the time was completely wasted. And now I'm going to sit down and enjoy this. Today we're making, it's called Zupa Kopakawa. I hope I've said that right. It's a Polish soup. It is a Polish potato with dill soup. Now, last week my dad was at Withington Hospital, and if anybody's from Manchester, you know where that is. And it's next door to a place called Didsbury, and there are lots of lovely places to eat there. And because my dad was in the hospital having a procedure done, I had some time to kill. So I went to this cute, lovely little cafe called Mary and Archie's. So super cute, and they did soup and a sandwich for £6.50, which I thought was a bargain. And this was the soup that they served. So it's potatoes, carrots. It's meant to be spring onion, so I apologise, and I'm using an onion because I've not got any spring onion. It's meant to be fresh dill, but I don't have any. I did have a look out for some fresh dill, but could not find any anywhere. Some stock, some cream, and some nutmeg, and obviously salt and pepper. And there's a little bit of butter in there to go to start with. And the reason I know these ingredients is because I was cheeky enough to ask, and the chefs emailed me the recipe because I was nice and I asked, because you never know. You don't, I always say, if you don't ask, you don't get, and the worst they can say is no. So I'm going to have a go at making this slightly altered version of it and see if I can make it taste even 80% as good as what they made it, and it will still be delicious. So we're going to start off with our cooking down our butter and popping in our onion and sauteing that off slightly, and then we will add in some of the other ingredients. But it's basically going to be a put it together and cook it in the stock soup. There we go. So there's not much early prep to do other than softening this onion, which, like I said, should have been the white and slightly pale green parts of a spring onion. So I'll start with that, let that saute down, and then we'll pop in the other ingredients. I've been cooking the onions on a low heat and they're now nice and translucent, so I'm just going to add everything else. Carrots in. These are just thin rounds of carrots, and the potatoes I just cut into bite-sized chunks. So they can go in. And then all we're going to do is cook this in some stock. I've just used normal stock, not my vegetable bouillon, because I didn't want to have too much of a strong flavour. There we go. So push that down, and enough to make sure everything's covered. That was a good guess. Now I'm going to add a little bit of dill now because I want it to soften, because I've not got the fresh dill. So let's have a look at that. So we're just going to put in approximately half a teaspoon of dill now, and let that soak in. I'm going to put a lid on this, I think, just slightly skew whiff so that it keeps most of the heat in, and I'm just going to cook this until the veggies are cooked. So I'm probably thinking the potatoes maybe 15-20 minutes, depends, we shall see. I've just checked the potatoes and they are tender, so I've just popped them on a spoon, and there you go, that's all done. I'm going to have a little bit of taste. We will see if we need any more dill in there. Oh, a pinch more, I think, just to, and I think I might sprinkle a pinch on when we serve. but it doesn't need much more because it's got a really nice flavour behind it. So I'm going to add now, it says nutmeg, so I've got my little nutmeg. I love this. My little my nutmeg grater. So let's go in there with some of that. Nutmeg always goes nice with potatoes, I think. So there we go. I do think that's the cutest little sieve going. Give that a little mix. Now we're going to add some of our cream. This is my soy cream. Good glug of that to make it nice and creamy. I think I've put a bit too much in there. I don't think the soup I had was that creamy, but I'm a bit naughty in with my cream. But I know it's going to make the flavour really good. A pinch of the old salt, a crack of pepper, because it does say salt and pepper, so I'll put a crack of pepper on there as well. Probably add a little bit more pepper to Chris's because he's a bit of a pepper fiend. Now let's do a proper taste of some potato, of a little bit of carrot. Get on there, carrot. That carrot does not want to get on there. Let's try, start with that carrot and then chase the potato. There we go. That is really, really nice. Is it 100% the same as Mary and Archie's? No. Am I 80% there? Yes. Would I go back to Mary and Archie's for this soup? Heck yes. I'm even going to send them a copy of the video and the link to the video so they can have a watch. Right, soup is ready. I'm going to go and eat. There we go, 4 more soups, all done and dusted. And I've got to say, the Mary and Archie's potato and dill soup, Chris said was super uber delicious and was so good it didn't even need bread, which is a rare thing because his first thing that he does as soon as he gets a soup is, where's the bread? I need bread. So that proves how delicious that one was. And I absolutely loved it as well. And going back there, definitely. Soup and a sandwich for £6.50. Bargain. Really, really good. It's on their specials board. So the soups may vary each time and the sandwich may vary each time, but still really, really good value, I think. And I've got to say, I loved my onion noodle soup. That was so super filling. I know I would not have been as full if I'd have just had plain onion soup. So adding the noodles just added that little bit of extra value to it, if you know what I mean. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what soups you think you would have enjoyed, what you liked, could I have done anything different? And also give me some more ideas. I am on the hunt for even more soups to be able to round out this full year of soup. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.